for you. I love that. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Talking Business. I am Stephanie Van Bark, and I'm a small business owner. And we are talking business today with Dr. Tisa McGhee of MC3 Consulting. And that's going to be very exciting because she's actually making some real changes in how she's operating and using some of her skills as a consultant to move to other arenas, even before the pandemic. So that's going to be an interesting conversation to have. So without further ado, let me bring on board Dr. Tisa McGhee. Good morning,
Stephanie. How are you?
How are you today?
Wonderful. I see you got your pink on.
Yes,
we got a little memo going on out there.
A little bit of green. Okay, for those of you who don't know, this is my sorority sister. And thank you for joining me so much. Look, I told you get to call on Sarah's friends, everybody.
Listen, this is what we're all about. We're here for each other. Yep.
And that's one of our initiatives, by the way. One of our initiatives is about supporting Black business. So it's always a wonderful thing when I'm able to share what other Black businesses are doing in this during this time and even before this time. Mm-hmm. So as I mentioned, Dr. Tisa, I'm going to call you Dr. Tisa. We are talking about challenges in terms of small business. Mm-hmm. The pandemic has really opened up the idea or the concept of really having an emergency plan. But this is something that small businesses should be thinking about anyway. They should always be thinking about this process of pivoting. So tell us who you are and what you do.
Okay, so I am Dr. Tisa McGhee, and I have several hats, but here I'm in the hat of a business owner of MC3 Consulting Inc. We have been in business for 10 years, so I can't believe that time frame has passed, but I started working with, I primarily work with nonprofits in the areas, in the communities of Overtown and Liberty City, but what we really do is we really try to assist clients from moving from this idea of empowerment to results and change, right? So we want organizations to build and grow. So this is not something different that we do. We're pivoting in some ways, but this is actually how we try to help organizations build their capacity. So we do that through a variety of techniques, and I'll share some of those exact things that we do under sort of our regular things that we do to make money. But it's really about empowering organizations to see their value and their worth within the community. And I love it. I love that activity. It's been a tremendous experience. And I'm getting to know more and more businesses that do this type of work.
Good. We talked a little bit earlier. You said you work closely with nonprofits primarily, but you can provide services to for-profits. Yes. Explore, if you would, a little bit more about, I share it with you. Sometimes people say they're consultants, and I'm not sure what that fully means. What would you do coming into an organization, and how's that applicable to both types of businesses?
So we offer a wide range of services that include assessment, planning, things that are related to developing the organization, so training and evaluation. So a large part of our business is doing evaluations, and the reasons why we work with nonprofits primarily is because they actually do get funding for to support their evaluation of their organization.
Okay.
Which is a vital part of the organization really sustaining themselves and being able to show and demonstrate what they've done.
Okay. And you're able to apply using your data to apply for future grants.
The other thing that we've been involved in is leadership development. So we really want to make sure that organizations can build within their organization people who they want to step up to some sort of leadership role. And so that has been another incredible sort of connection to MC3.
Yeah. Perfect. Now, it seems to me, based on what you're saying, a lot of what you do could be shifted in some way. And have you thought about shifting it in some way to serve organizations during this really just unprecedented time.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
In terms of looking at their emergency plans, et cetera.
Mm-hmm. So I thought that was interesting. I did watch some of your previous episodes where you talked about, nonprofits specifically and people who have had the opportunity to develop and think about what would we do if there were some sort of disaster.
Mm-hmm.
And like you had mentioned before, it was typically some sort of natural disaster that happened that put us in this situation. Well, here we have a different type of trauma going on in our community, and so that's one of the things that maybe could have been at least 2 to 3, maybe 4 years ago. We actually talked about how we can make our communities become more trauma informed, meaning that they take into consideration all the things that are impacting our communities, and really making sure that we address those things, that our staff are aware. How do you make sure that people that coming into the organization feel heard and listened to and valued, appreciated? All of those things become of a trauma-informed organization. And so when we're going through what I would call a collective trauma, so it's not just one set of people, right. It's the entire community that's impacted by COVID-19 and what's happening with our businesses being closed and all of those things. So I'm pivoting a little bit to go back to some of those concepts and ideas, and hoping that agencies, organizations are interested in having that complete discussion now, where you're going to have a different type of client coming into your door, so a different type of participant, a different type of person who's coming in for services. It's going to be a different experience for them now.
Completely, because as we talked before, some businesses might not make it through this. So there's going to be a huge conversation around, I believe, in the for-profit world about emergency plans and preparation under circumstances like this, and being realistic about if your industry can sustain in circumstances like this. It's interesting, as I was talking to Celia, it occurred to me, nonprofits are sort of really on the upper curve with regards to looking at those kinds of plans. For-profits, we're generally working from paycheck to paycheck.
So wait, let me just dispel that little bit of I'm not really sure if that's accurate information, because they do have to share some sort of like plan that they might have. And again, that is more focused on natural disasters, because that's what happens to us here in Florida. But I also don't think that they really think through how to implement that plan. It may seem nice on paper, right?
Right.
Okay, these are the things we're going to do, but to actually have to go in and try to implement that, it's something that it's a new territory, right? So what I heard your previous guest say is that, thinking through some of those methods and becoming a little innovative has been what has driven them to be able to get through what we're experiencing. But again, a written plan and actually having it to implement it is two different things.
It's two different things. And like you said, sometimes people sort of put down a formulaic, okay, we'll do this with no real idea that they're ever going to actually have to execute that.
But that's why a consultant like myself would definitely be an asset at this point. And I've had contracts where I worked with organizations like throughout a school year to help them to build those things. So organizations like even Overtown Youth Center, which is right there in going over now.
Absolutely.
So it is something that we've talked about before, but how to go through implementing a plan. Overtown Youth Center actually spent the time to develop that, put some policies in place, I helped develop the policies and met with staff on several occasions to get their input. So those types of processes are what a consultant, an organizational development consultant like myself would do.
Are you talking to some of your clients at this point and giving them some recommendations as how they could shift and adjust? And, I would imagine the youth-based organizations have a little bit of an edge just because they still are working with youth, at least on an online platform. Mm-hmm. But some other organizations might not be as nimble. So are you having some of those conversations as well?
Yes, absolutely. And one of the things that we're really trying to hammer home with those conversations are around data and how to use data to inform their decision making about all aspects of their business. Mm-hmm. So it's not just about the programming part, but the business side too. How do you know? I mean, I think some of the questions I heard you say are asked before about how do you know if this is the right time to exit from your business, or how do you know what do you need to carry on? How do you know what things you need to apply for those business loans and things like that? So those are the types of conversations that we're having, using data to inform those decisions. And that's if you look at our country and globally now, right? People are saying, okay, where's the data that's important? How many tests do we need to have? How many, people are passing away that gives us an informed idea about where's the curve that we need to go,
and we're watching those numbers like you wouldn't believe. I wake up every day watching those numbers. So, and so I don't think we're even halfway there. Now let's talk a little bit directly about your business per se. Have you applied for any of the loans or needed to? It seems like with what you do, you may be able to continue to do what you do regularly, but from a platform like this.
Right. So when I said before, I have several hats. I do have a full-time job. I'm an associate professor at Barry University School of Social Work. And what's great about having that position, it's really allowed me to have the opportunity to work with community members. So people that get to know me, they know my work ethic, and they know, the value of having a doctorate on your evaluation team. So yes, we've been lucky that we've been able to continue to do some of the work that we do. But I have applied for the disaster business loan. I'm not sure that I did it right. I'm not,
Nobody is. Don't worry about it. Nobody
is. Even though they made it a lot simpler, supposedly, I haven't heard anything yet. And I'm concerned about that. I do have one employee that, someone that works with me to make sure that we are analyzing the data correctly and doing data entry and things like that. So there are things that I'm really interested in making sure that our business still has a way to go on. But
actually, if you could hop on some webinars, I was on one yesterday where they talked about one of the loans, and there are several out there, grants that are out there where you may have applied, but now they're only giving $1,000 per person. I'm not sure that's what you applied for. I know several people that I've spoken to with PPP have either not received anything, or I know personally for myself, I had some major technical issues that ultimately my banker was able to help me get through. So I have to say I was very grateful for him, but it was a bit of touch and go for a second there. So it seems like everybody's sort of in the same boat right now. We're all trying to hopefully figure it out, and hopefully Congress will make another pass at this to see if we have an opportunity. Now, I want to talk to you a little bit about, for those of you who don't know, so I'm hoping I'm announcing some interesting information here. Before the pandemic, you actually were on a pivot plan anyway. I'd like for you to kind of talk to us a little bit about that and what prompted that information. Was there information in your work that made you make some of those decisions? And if you could share with us a little bit about that as well.
So the other hat that Stephanie is referring to. So in early January, I made a decision to run for office. So I've been a social worker for 26 years. Like I said, I teach at Barry University in the School of Social Work, but I've had the experience of recognizing how impactful policy, legislation, sort of macro level social work issues, have on our everyday lives. And so teaching new social workers, helping them to understand that has been a real passion of mine. So I teach the primary course that I teach is leadership advocacy and public policy.
Okay.
And in that, I'm, always saying to my students, listen, you have to be the one to change the world. You have to be the change agent that goes out there.
Mm-hmm.
And finally I said, you know what, Tissa, you
You've been talking
anymore. Yeah, there you go.
Why don't you do it?
Yeah, there you go. You have to take this opportunity. And so I put my hat in the ring for Miami-Dade County Commissioner for District 3.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm so excited about it because I really believe that I can help. I think I bring a unique skill set. So my academic background, which is a lot of data and information, but also my experience in working with the community. I moved here in 2004 when there were 4 hurricanes back to back, and I really saw the resiliency of Miami-Dade and how communities came together. And to me, that was such an important part of why I decided to stay here and to make my family grow here and everything, my business be here. It's all of that has brought me to it. And then the bottom line again is I believe I can help. And then there's Madison. Like, Madison came into my life 2 years ago, and now I just want to make the world a better place for him.
And Madison is?
Madison is my grandson. Oh my God. I could not be more of a doting grandmother. And
which he called her right before the show looking for Papa. But that's okay.
He's amazing. So that's like another main reason why I wanted to run. So I'm running for office. All the pandemic happened, and I really am at a loss for how to make sure that this works and that people get to know me. You know me. Please share what do you think is great about me to want to have to run for political office?
No, I absolutely agree. As I mentioned, she's my SAR, and I've known Tissa for years. She's definitely been an active member of the Overtown community. That's how I met her actually first in Overtown. Right. She worked with several organizations that I work with. And I can always say I thoroughly appreciate her passion for the community, her passion for a grassroots approach to really fixing the woes of organizations in this community, of this community itself. She's usually at everything I'm at. So anybody that's at every event I'm at, I'm thinking, hey, they must really love this place. And just good heart, smart as a whip. So yeah, really on top of and very innovative around some policy opportunities, which I would imagine with your data collection and as you've been working in this arena for many years, it has formed your platform.
Yes, absolutely. And I'm glad you mentioned. Yeah, I was going to say I'm glad you mentioned our work in the community because coalition building, collaboration, working with communities so that people feel like their voices are heard. I mean, my first research activity in the Overtown community was a photo voice activity where we brought in community members and asked them to take photos of what they believe were assets in the community. And then we really made a spin on, because everything was coming out of Overtown was negative. And we're like, no, there are people that live here that have really wonderful values and they see the positiveness in their community. And so that was just the first effort. And I think that just led me to see the beauty of the communities around District 3. I mean, Overtown, Liberty City, you're talking about Alapata, you're talking about downtown. It's
Model City,
diverse. Yeah, no, but it's great. I mean, it includes everything up to Miami Shores, where I've worked for 10 years. So it's like all of these great things coming together to really show that there's a possibility to have a leader in place that people don't feel that people feel like they can trust, that have integrity. I mean, and then I got the endorsement. I mean, this is like probably the biggest thing ever. And it really has been a humbling experience. I got the endorsement of Chairwoman Audrey Edmondson, who has served this community with integrity, with accountability, and has just been, I mean, if she could run again, probably her, like, because of term limits, she's leaving this role. But I think she'll be back. And what I want to say is that she has, demonstrated to me what a true leader is. And so that's where I'm pivoting to. But I'll still keep my business open.
That's what I was gonna say.
Because I heard you when you said, the people in charge and the leadership in the community can't really relate to the small business owner. And I think that's ridiculous. I don't want that to go forward. I want people to feel like their business people are being heard. Yeah.
I think that's because systematically in this community, we are lumped in these silos. And I think I'm just coming around to that. So we've been unable to really unite in a way that people feel they can rely on one another. And you've been in a challenged community. I think a lot of times that's because, you're just trying to stay alive a lot of times. And you're not always sure about your business being able to survive or your day-to-day living, quality of life. And so if we can sort of get to a point where we feel a little bit more comfortable with each other, but therefore we also feel that we are getting the support we need for one another. There'll be a little bit more of the community relying on the business owners relying on the police, so on and so forth. And I see it coming, but maybe not fast enough. So, and you mentioned this is a very diverse district, and it is. You will have, should you become our commissioner, would have a wealth of cultures, races, languages, economic, status in, a variety of people in different economic levels in the district, and very sectioned off. Everybody's sort of in their own little neighborhood and playing in their own sandbox. What are some of the things you think could really unify us a little bit better? And then, talk again a little bit about your platform as to ways that we can really become a wonderful society.
What I definitely like about the diversity of District 3 is the fact that we, even though we might be a little in our little own sandboxes, as you mentioned, I think that I have the ability to work with all different types of people. As I mentioned before, I love collaboration. I am definitely a coalition builder. I was part of the Overtown Children and Youth Coalition as it developed, and I see strengths in a lot of people. And so that's what I want to be able to bring is, looking at the strengths and the values of each community and bringing them together and letting people feel like they are heard. I think that's what I'm hearing, or what I heard prior to being in a stay-at-home order, was the fact that people didn't feel like their voices were heard in certain communities. And I definitely want to have the opportunity to demonstrate that. So my platform is, and thanks for asking this question, but my platform has typically been around some of the issues that are of real challenge to Miami-Dade County. First being workforce and affordable housing. I mean, we definitely have seen actual lack of that, of the county's ability to really reinforce the types of housing that we need to make sure that people. I have my own daughter. Is hard to find a affordable place for her to live with my grandson Madison, which I told you is one of the reasons why I'm running. So that has been one of the biggest things that I want to work on. Transportation is another thing that the county put together, the SMART plan. But again, about implementation, we really haven't thought about how do you implement that? That's a great plan, but let's figure out how we're going to implement that. So transportation, climate change. I live in the Edgewater community, and I know how significant
Yes,
climate change is.
absolutely.
It is not. I'm definitely believe in the science. It's not made up. It's real, and
I
so
agree.
we can see the impact of COVID-19 having, us being less in the environment has led to a
Correct.
cleaner environment, things. But I also think that we need to have people in the conversation that are in the communities where there's climate change gentrification going on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Absolutely. Yes.
that's impacting
In a neighborhood like Overtown. And can you share a little bit about what that means?
I would definitely want to hear from the people who are being impacted by that, by the climate gentrification, and to really get an idea of what it means as people move or tend to are trying to move into the communities that are at a higher elevation,
Right.
and
Like
that have
Overtown and Liberty City
right,
and
that
right.
have the infrastructure in place to deal with our uh, rains when it comes to Miami Beach, and they're being flooded out. Like they're thinking about where can we go where we have higher
Mhm.
elevation, and then they're starting to buy into those communities. And I'm on my platform is also about and speaking about that too is generational wealth. So making sure that small businesses like you and I are also, again, heard, and that those things that are in place for small businesses really go to small businesses. Like this PPP loan running out of money now is really because the big
Right.
banks are taking the big loans and saying, okay, we know these people better. Well, how do the small business people have a relationship with their banker? I mean, it's kind of impossible. We're doing business during the middle of the day, and then you're
Mhm.
closed when the small businesses need to get to you to have that, to build those relationships. So
And you're the only person on staff, or you've
yes,
only got one other person that comes a certain amount of hours. I can't just close down my shop and hang out with you.
right. So investing more into small business development, to making sure the mom and pop programs that are around the county. So I'm definitely interested in things that are impacting District 3, but I'm also going to be a county commissioner that wants to work across the board. I want to know, how we can, again, develop coalitions across the county that will serve the people. So I think I mentioned everything: affordable and workforce housing, transportation, small businesses, and making sure. Oh, the other thing is about jobs, right? So higher paying jobs coming to Miami, I think
Absolutely.
is a huge thing, and making sure that that people who get trained to do specific, and I've seen this kind of time and time again. We put out these lovely training programs. People get trained, but then they don't get hired to do those jobs, and businesses, bigger businesses, typically, for whatever reason, aren't bringing those people that are trained. And I'd want to make more investment into making sure the people that are trained, get the jobs and get those higher paying jobs that they need.
Well, we've got to look at a couple of things. One, making sure there are jobs available. We did for a period of time, we were into like this cyber, computer,
Yeah.
technology, online, digital, everything training, which is
Right.
very important. But when it came time for people to get jobs, there weren't any jobs here in that arena because we had not supported the elevation or the
businesses there being to
scale up
hire those
plan
people, right? Right.
for smaller businesses. If I'm a small business and in Miami-Dade County, you're required to give, if you want to work with Miami-Dade County, you're required to give a minimum of $15 an hour, which actually I don't have a problem with. My employees get a minimum of $15 an hour. I think, that's a working wage. Truth be told, I don't even know if it's a working wage in Miami. But it's at least
with those lack of affordable housing options, you need to make more money than $15 an hour to
to live in that kind of situation. And
Absolutely.
take into consideration, if I can, talk about your daughter, for example. She's in a creative arena. Creative arenas in Miami don't always, folks in that industry don't get paid fairly all the time.
Right.
There's sort of always this expectation that you want to work to do that because it's fun for you,
Right,
not
right.
because you need to feed a child.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. So yeah, absolutely. I
So
mean,
looking at,
mhm,
equalizing the industry,
mhm,
making it more equitable across industries, make it fair across industries, but
mhm.
also making sure when we are taking people through these trainings that there is something for them to go to. I mean, I remember one program I talked to where they did this training program, and most people still had to leave because they couldn't stay here and get a
Mhm.
job. So,
Right. Yeah,
um,
incentives for businesses that and working with uh, federal, state officials to make sure that there are things that are bringing those higher paying jobs to Miami-Dade
mhm.
County, so that yes, when people get trained, they are the local folks get the investment first, or they
Right,
get
right,
the benefit of the
right,
investment first.
right.
So
Very cool. Very
definitely,
cool. I'll be on that committee.
there's lots to do. There's lots to do in Miami-Dade County, and I mean, I think that there are some things that are already in place
Yeah.
that need to be carried out, and I hope that I get the opportunity to do that. I'm so excited though, because being a Miami-Dade County Commissioner is a big deal. Let me
It
just
is.
tell you
It
that
is.
the budget for Miami-Dade County is $8.9 billion. Like
Whoa.
that's a lot of money.
To
Two
direct
point,
where it's going,
yeah, exactly.
make sure it's really hitting and connecting with the people and the
Abs-
ground.
Absolutely. 2.8 million people that live in Miami-Dade County, one of the most populous counties in the state of Florida.
Mhm.
So, yeah, it is a big deal, and I really take this seriously, and I really appreciate everyone who's supported me so far. We started this new campaign, Stephanie. I really want to tell you a little bit about that, if
Okay,
you
go
can.
for it.
It's called I Believe in Tissa. So it actually came from the subject line last week. Voters in District 3, registered voters in District 3, and people who have supported the campaign already received an email from Chairwoman Edmondson, again, supporting my candidacy, but the subject line said, I believe in Tissa. And I was like, that's perfect. Let's do that to get people to know me. So we're building this campaign where we want people who live or work in District 3 to really reach out to us. They can go to our website and sign. That's www.tissamcghee, TISAMCGHEE.com. And there you get, you'll find information about the campaign. And really, I think it's going to be great that we want to have everyday people involved in the campaign. So if you want to learn more about me, just go to the website. And if you want to believe in me, we can send you, if you give us your picture, we can send you the frame that says, I believe in Tissa. And I would definitely love to get to know all of the residents of District 3. And this pretty much is the best way that we can do this now, since we can't
Right.
get together. It's through the website, it's through social media. I'm trying to be on social media more often. That's, hasn't been my thing, but I see how great you are at it, and I'm inspired.
Look, I hope so. I hope so. We definitely want to make sure. I hope, most importantly, we want to make sure people are exchanging ideas around how to stay afloat during a situation like this, or just inspiring one another. You know what I mean? We
Yeah,
do
yeah.
this, and we just hold our heads up and be innovative and be creative.
So join me on my social media too. It's everything is Facebook, Instagram, Twitter is all at Vote Tissa McGhee. Again, with the H. Everybody hopefully will get to know me better in District 3 and throughout the county, and then we'll make those small businesses have a better opportunities. Stephanie, thank you so much for
Perfect.
having me on. I appreciate it so much.
Thank you so much for coming to join us, everyone. Say goodbye to Dr. Tisa McGhee, only for a short period of time. We'll talk to her again.
All right, take care.
Thanks so much.
All right, bye-bye.
Let's see here. Okay, so thank you again, Dr. Tissa, for joining us. Tomorrow, we're going to talk to Kimra Major Morris. She is an attorney, intellectual property, which is so interesting to me because that's right down my arena. But at the same token, it's It's a weird time right now to be talking about intellectual property. Her show will be on at 4 o'clock tomorrow. It won't be at 10, so we'll be interesting to see our following to see if we can get more people to look at 4 o'clock. But thank you. We hope you'll join us, and we will talk to you tomorrow at 4 o'clock with Kimra Major Morris. Have a great day. Bye bye.